Hello, family, and welcome back to the Ebony Odyssey. My name is Jermaine Long, and I am a servant of the Most High God. I really appreciate you coming along, and as always, enjoy the journey. Today's message is a man shall bear his own burden. And of course, it's coming from Galatians chapter 6, verse 5, which reads, "For every man shall bear his own burden." And family, I'm here once again, and I'm reading through, and I'm trying to gain as much knowledge as I can of how I should conduct myself and the steps that I should take and the burdens that I should carry. And it's funny because when you read this verse, chapter 6, verse 5 of Galatians, you can easily just go back up just a little bit to verse 2 where it says, "Bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." Now, I read both of these, and it's two more in between there, but I read both of these for this purpose right here. Because when you come here and you have a certain goal in mind and a focus for that goal, it's hard for you. It's I know pride comes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall, but it's the leaning on God that gets you where you need to go. Okay? And that's the key to all of this. What I'm going to say, this message, you can hang up early, because at the end of the day, leaning on God gets you where you need to go. For every man should bear his own burden, right? But if a man think himself to be something, then he is nothing, and he deceives himself. So think about that. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm this, I'm that, check out me. But at the end of the day, we are all nothing. And we are just trying to do God's will each and every day. And what is his will? To bear another one's burdens. But what does it say in verse 5? "For every man shall bear his own burden." So what does it mean to bear another's burden? Man, we all have troubles, and we're all going to go through something here. A lot of people go through things every day here. And I see myself now as I'm a resource. I am the resource, and it doesn't change. It hasn't changed since high school. It hasn't changed since college. It hasn't changed since my job. It hasn't changed. I am still the resource at the end of the day. Because when it comes down to it, you get in verse 4, it says, "But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another." Man, I love the work that I'm able to do with God's blessing, with God's strength, with God's help, with God's direction. Now, I get tickled every time that I see, something that I've done and I've put my hands to and God has blessed. Because honestly, I'm the vessel, but God is, the conductor. He makes sure that I can get to the next step. And I wouldn't be able to get to the next step without God. So I don't big up myself. Because what does it say? "For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself." I understand. So that's why when it comes down to it, it's easy. It's easy if you understand who you are to bear one another's burdens and fulfill the law of Christ, to help one another. But it also says, let every man prove his own work. When I'm out here grinding and when I'm out here getting it and getting things done, because guess what? The day requires so much effort. It requires me to direct so many people into so many different places. And it definitely gets wearisome. You get worn down, and that's the thing, man. I'm going to have to explain more of this, but I don't want to go long. But, when you are a man and you're here and you are dependent upon for everything to go right, for everything to be taken care of, for each and every step, because each and every step that is not taken at your direction, guess what? It fails. It fails. God gave each and every one of us free will to do his will. And you see how crazy we get when we are not in alignment with God. Think about your household. Think about bringing your household to the continent of Africa and not being able to instruct your wife, not being able to instruct your children, not being able to instruct the people that you have surrounded yourself with, that you will need and they will need you. If you cannot give proper instructions, guess what? The things you have come to do will fail. If you cannot take the proper instructions from the Lord, the things you have come to do will fail. And so, I'm saying all that to say this. Every man will or shall bear his own burden. But are you a man that's capable of bearing your burden and lightening other people's load? This is the man that I have been all my life. And I'm thankful because I don't see it as a burden. I just see it as helping. I just see it as doing God's will. I see the people who reach out to me on a daily basis, needing this, needing that. And, I'm thankful that I can be a blessing to them. I try not to get tangled up in so many things with so many people, because that is the one thing that I notice, getting here, people who are not prepared to carry their own burdens will easily try to place them on you. And, we can always say that's unfair, and it is. But that is the road you will be led down coming here. If you cannot, carry the weight of your own burdens, you will be a burden to someone else. And here is not a place where people need any additional burdens. We have coddled a lot of people for so long. And, you look at it and it's like, man, these people can't even function on their own. You have, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds still at home. At 18, I know I was gone. I know I wasn't coming back. I know I had to make it on my own. My own burdens were my own. I couldn't leave it on my grandmother. I couldn't leave it on my mother. Wasn't going to leave it on my father. So anyway, that's another story and that's another time. But for every man to bear his own burdens is the key. And every man who thinks himself something when he is nothing deceived himself. And prove your work. If you are as good as you say you are, do it. Do what you say you're going to do. Do it and rejoice in what you have done alone and not in somebody else's hard work. Most people try to rejoice in somebody else's hard labor. I had many people try to rejoice in some things that I did and they couldn't do. And when the rubber met the road, they was exposed. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. The work you put in will be exposed in the end. Were you with God or against God? Your work will show. Hey, family, I appreciate you for listening. And as always,